Monica.
Hi,
It's
Leila.
lovely to speak to you today. I'm with Monica Felkel, the Director of Artist Management at YCA in New York, Young Concert Artists, which was founded in 1961 by Susan Wadsworth, and which has promoted and nurtured the career of so many famous musicians. We can't even, to list them would take up the entire time of our talk. Monica, you and I have worked together since, what did you say, 1989?
I started in 1989. I worked with you at that time as getting all the artists to you. And then later on, we started working together, figuring out which artists you wanted to present and who would be great for your audiences to hear. So a long time.
So, in fact, Monica and I have had the most wonderful working relationship over the years. And I so depend upon her and her sage advice, and I trust her completely. And she's a wonderful friend, a great cook, and she buys even more shoes than I do when we go shopping. In any case, Monica, the reason I wanted to talk to you today in particular, and there are many other things we can talk about in the future, but today's the day that we are announcing the fact that we are cancelling the concerts in the first half of the Vancouver Recital Society's 2021 season. So that means that all the concerts from September through to December will have to be postponed as best we can organize that, whether it's to 3 seasons away, 2 seasons away, 1 season away, I don't know. But the point is that, first of all, you have an artist with us, Zlatomir Fang, in November. And then you have another group of artists with us in the spring, which we haven't cancelled. And maybe there'll be a vaccine by then, who knows? Yes. Or some kind of a treatment. And what I wanted to ask you is, how you as a management are dealing with this, how you're dealing with your artists, and if you're finding differences across the country in terms of postponements or cancellations. How's it working?
I think the first thing with the artists, I mean, what your subscribers and donors may not realize about Young Concert Artists is that we are actually a nonprofit organization.
Right.
So we survive not on the commissions that we earn through our artists' work. We survive on donations and grants and fundraising and galas, and our earned income is minimal compared to what a commercial manager would do. The commercial managers earn it's 20% of an artist's fee, and that's how they keep their lights on, pay their salaries, everything they do to operate and help their artists. Since Young Concert Artists is a nonprofit organization, really at first when concerts started canceling, it's really the artists who are suffering most because that's their income. And so we were actually able to take some money that we had and provide financial relief for some of the artists who needed it immediately, who needed to pay rent. So that was like the first immediate thing. Who needs help with their income all dried up basically in March, April, May, and June? We didn't know what the summer was going to bring. The next thing we started doing is already looking at some of the work that our artists have been doing in terms of educational outreach and or community engagement, educational residencies, master classes. So we've partnered with the Harmony program here in New York, and about 11 of our artists have been filming online content. And that really started at the end of March, so 2 weeks into this. And we have an educational fund, the Annalisa Soros Residency Fund of Young Concert Artists, that provides money to pay the artist to do this. So, it's little bits, but right now any bit helps an artist. So luckily for us, our mission wasn't just booking concerts. It's how do we help the full artist? So we also started weekly Friday Zoom workshops for the artists. And so every Friday at 2:00, our president, Daniel Kellogg, would get on Zoom with as many artists as could be there. And we would have career workshops. So it was everything from social media, coming up with an artist statement, finances for artists, technology. And actually, the artists themselves led the technology session because now we've all been thrown into this. I mean, I don't know about you, but I never did a Zoom session for work until this started, and I didn't know about Slack or Asana. And now, I'm far by an expert, but we've had to all learn this. Well, the artists have had to learn to be more comfortable with technology. In a lot of ways, this pandemic has sort of helped fast forward projects that we were going to do anyway.
Oh,
But
that's interesting.
yeah, so we were doing career workshops for the new artists every year, but now actually having them meet once a week will slow it down with summer and next year. But it actually has gotten artists who may not have actually ever met each other from our roster. They've met each other in the Zoom boxes. They're starting to work together on different projects. They're asking each other for guidance. So it's, in a way, our roster has literally become closer together for those artists who are in the US, in Europe, in the Far East. And that's been really great. So for us, in terms of the artists, our plan, I mean, we are definitely doing fundraising to keep the lights on and keep doing what we're doing for the artists. But our plan is really now, how do we take a look at this industry and how do we make sure that our artists can work well in whatever the end zone of this pandemic is?
I have actually two questions then directly to what you're talking about. The first is I'm trying to imagine, let's just use the example maybe of a young violinist you manage who's on your roster called Randall Goodsby.
Mm-hmm.
Now, sitting here in Vancouver and watching the music world and with a particular interest in young artists, I see his career taking off. And I can see him going like this. What effect do you think this sudden closure is going to have on the trajectory of that career?
Randall has really blossomed with the online content. Now, we've also been really conscientious about how much artists are putting out there. But one of the things we've done is we have a weekly interview. We've partnered with the Violin Channel to have a weekly interview session with our president and one of our artists, and Randall's done that. Randall's also embraced technology and doing some at-home living room concerts. He's also one of the ones doing the harmony teaching. So as much as he's not out there right now performing, he's finding time to research more literature, repertoire that he's been interested in. I mean, he did actually just finish his master's at Juilliard, and he had some requirements for that.
Yes.
And he's doing some online summer programs with Yellow Barn and some other places. But he also worked with two other of our Black artists to create a hour-long session discussing the nuances of being a Black artist in the classical music industry. And it was Randall and two other YCA current artists Stephen Banks, our saxophonist, and Anthony Triumpho, our flutist,
Right.
who said, right now, this is something we need to do. So in some ways, not being on the road all the time, not juggling a school schedule has given Randall, as well as some other artists, this unexpected time to maybe pause, which I think a young artist often does not get. I actually think in some ways it's these younger artists and the artists who are willing to, I'm not sure if put their heart on their sleeve is the right thing, but to be a little raw and be honest about, look, I'm playing a concert from my living room and my piano hasn't been tuned in 5 months. Bear with me. I think they have a really great opportunity to come out of this as more well-rounded artists in charge of their career, where they often may have thought that, well, as long as I have the concerts coming in, my career is going forward.
It's interesting because one of your original artists, who's now quite famous, played something from his living room on a very out of tune piano, and that's Emmanuel X. On the
Yes.
other hand, my first conversation with an artist in our little series that we've started was with Stephen Osborn, who decided he had to learn how to tune his piano. So he had his piano technician send him the equipment, and then he gave him classes online on how to tune the piano. So that's very
I
interesting.
think that 80% of the pianists out there are learning to tune their own pianos now. I've spoken to Ursula Oppens. I have spoken to Jeanne-Flamme Babuzet, both YCA alumni. Our current pianist, Do-Hyun Kim, was learning. I think the biggest obstacle is that when learning to tune a piano, they've discovered they need to have extra piano strings around. But I said, at the very least, when you all come out of this, if there are fewer concerts for the time being, you can make a killing tuning pianos. So, which is not really a cop-out, but everybody's learning new skills in this.
So the other thing I wanted to ask you is, what is your feeling across the US in terms of bookings for your artists going ahead? I mean, I can't figure out what's going on in the States. I mean, I can see the disastrous stories, but are there presenters who are still hoping to have concerts in the fall?
There are. I think a lot of it depends on geography. For us, we young concert artists, aside from being viewed as a management and these auditions, which are closely, you could say, related to a competition, we also are a presenter like you. So we have a concert series in New York and in DC at the Kennedy Center. And in New York, we learned last week that Carnegie Hall would not be opening the rest of the season. And our opening season concert was in Zankel Hall, their middle-sized hall.
Yeah.
But we had already started in March to realize we needed a plan B, a plan C. So much like many of the presenters out there, I wish I kept my, the magic 8-ball that I had in 8th grade that you'd ask a question to and it'd say ask again later or something. We all have to realize that our original plans and even our plan B may not work. So that goes back to the flexibility. So we do have some people who are saying, look, we don't sell tickets to our concert. So we're going to say, can your artist come and play it twice so that we can have 50 people one day, which would space out in our hall, and 50 people the next day. And they said, would we have to pay twice as much? And I'm like, no, of course you wouldn't have to pay twice as much, because in the scale of how we usually work concerts, if you do doubles.
Yeah.
But so in that sense, some people are trying it. They may have to change. Some people are trying to go to all video streaming. And when we say streaming, it's not necessarily a live stream, because I do think there are a lot more problems that can happen, as you and I ourselves noticed when we started this chat. But I think that our ability as artist managers and artists and presenters to figure out what could be the best thing, not just for you, but for our artists. I mean, we do have some artists who are still very uncomfortable about this. We have other artists who have already found spaces in their community where they can go and film a recital, and then that can be edited for your community, and then we can also add a live aspect after it's watched. So, you know, we're trying to figure everything out.
So the challenge from my chair here is, and I know you and I have talked about Zlatomir to begin with, because that's the concert we know that's not going to happen in the Playhouse. The Playhouse is a civic auditorium, and they have not yet announced any plans of reopening. And I think our maximum gathering capacity in Vancouver is still at 50. So that's number one. Number two, we know that the border is closed and at the moment, so we have no idea. So you and I have skirted around, maybe we should do something electronically with him, tailored for us. That's one of the things we're talking about. So would it be better for them if we reschedule him in 2 years or 1.5 years away? Or should we try to do something electronically? I mean, that's the question we're all wrestling with all the time, isn't it?
Yeah, and right now there's so much content online. I can't even keep up with all the things that are being shown online of my own artists,
Yes,
let alone artists I
exactly.
enjoy outside my roster. The question is, do you want to go to your audience and say, hey, we know, I mean, you and I both know this, Leila, there's nothing like sitting in a hall and hearing somebody who gives you goosebumps. I remember you turning around at our auditions when you heard the Zora Quartet play
Yes,
Haydn,
yes.
and or Mozart, I can't remember, whatever it was, the first
Haydn.
Haydn, and you just went, I'm giving them my Vancouver Recital Society prize. And I was like, okay. And then I remember when our accordionist Hanji Wang was performing in the finals, and I got goosebumps, and I'm jaded. I'm, you know, until the
Yeah,
artists win, I joke that like it takes a lot at this point to get me like putting my notes down and just listening. And Hanji was one of those artists, the Zoras,
yeah.
the Omers, Vladimir. I mean, so many artists as you had,
Emmanuel
Julia Taylor,
Cesson.
Emmanuel Cesson, you know, and I'm thinking, harp, what am I going to do with a harpist? But when you get an amazing artist like this, the experience of hearing them experience them live is why you and I both do what we do. So this
Absolutely.
whole online aspect of it now, I would almost turn around to your ticket buyers and say, hey, here are two opportunities we have. What would you, I mean, do a survey, do a little survey, you know, and just say, yes, I would rather hear him now because I'm so excited to hear him do a performance for us, or B, I'm okay waiting. I can't look at my computer screen anymore.
The other thing is, I had booked already in February the whole 21-22 season. And I did that because of the pressure on getting dates at the theater. The fact of the matter is, I don't know that people have the time or the money to want to suddenly come to 28 Vancouver Recital Society performances, because it's a combination of the season we just lost and the season we're about to lose, and we're throwing it all into the following season, which we've already booked.
So as an artist manager, I think I need to be realistic as to the understanding of what each presenter can do in their community.
And
Some
it's
are booked far
different,
ahead.
right?
Yeah, it's different everywhere.
Yeah,
Some have not programmed. I mean, usually, typically with young concert artists, we're still booking dates for next season. And
yeah,
that's still going on with some people because they just book very late. So, again, I think this comes back to being understanding, being reasonable. I mean, I get it. It sucks. But it sucks for everybody.
yes,
It,
it
you know,
does.
and it's, for you to cancel a season. I mean, I personally remember when you decided to no longer present the Summer Chamber Music Festival, which I attended on my vacation. That wasn't just devastating for you and your community of supporters. The artists said, "We'll come for free, Leila. We love playing those concerts." So, this boat has several different people in there with
Yeah,
several different needs.
yeah,
And I just think, you know, it's interesting. I feel like on one level, we're working more than we had in any other season because we need so many different options. Again, this is something that's so beyond our control. And I think the best thing we can do is be the best partners that we can do, that we can be to each other. And, for us, again, since Young Concert Artists is a nonprofit and our sole mission is to help the artists. Well, how do we help the artists? Well, we launched a fund called the Keep Our Artists Working Fund. And we are, I believe, halfway there to raising $150,000. And the
oh,
idea is that
fantastic.
fund will be available to our artists to come up with projects. And one artist has come up with a project that is with a friend of theirs who's a singer, and they both love to cook. And so they're pairing music and their love for cooking and recipes. So they're going to do something like that, which just also gives you like a personal aspect. Even our saxophonist Stephen Banks, one of the things that came out of our Zoom series is with the workshops is that he got to know a lot of different artists, and he's created a blog or a podcast. It's sort of a mix of things where he's called Curious Dyads, and he's working with each one of our artists, and they're saying, okay, find a piece to play with saxophone. And they're doing that, and they're interviewing each other, and they're talking. So to Keep Our Artists Working Fund, and some of it may be as simple as a concert that they're going to make online available, and that why should all of this content be out there for free? So in this case, Young Concert Artists is raising the money to do that. Not everybody can do that.
And I mean, the thing is, I think that for us, um, the ability to put on a concert for only 50 people, if 50 people would come, is financial suicide.
You shouldn't, dying for our art, I don't think should be part of this equation now.
Yeah,
No one should be, you know,
you shouldn't.
committing financial
Yeah,
suicide
yeah,
in order to get somebody on the stage, because we want to make sure at the end of this we survive. I think it's still very important for our artists to be out there, for you to be providing content as well, and as much as we can share is terrific.
right.
um, I will take a little plug at this point that if people want to go to the Young Concert Artists website, yca.org, you can see a lot of the stuff that our artists are doing. From the beginning with Yo-Yo Ma as Songs of Comfort. Artists started recording there, as well as our interview sessions. Go to our YouTube page. I mean, there's so much out there now. It's
Yes.
amazing.
I think we've been extraordinarily lucky because we have tremendous support from our subscribers and donors and sponsors.
We
And
do
we've
too,
had
yeah.
government support as well. And we're small, so we're still working there's so much to do. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
And I think being able to work with you is amazing, with your
Thank you.
team,
Yeah.
because, and it's the same thing in our office now. we just keep throwing things against the wall, and if it sticks, great. If it doesn't, we tried it. And
Yes, exactly.
This is an amazing time to figure out who we all are as organizations,
Yes.
where we want to go in the future, which,
Right.
was something Young Concert Artists celebrating 60 years this coming season.
Yeah, that's amazing.
The world has changed,
Yes.
even before the pandemic. So,
exactly.
but what doesn't change is fabulous people to work with like you.
Bless you. God bless you. Thank you, Monica. It's been wonderful to chat.
Fabulous to actually see you.
Yes.
I know we talk like every week, but at some point, I hope sooner than later, I will be able to hug you and go shopping with you.
Yes, and have a meal together. Bless you. Bye-bye.
Much love. Bye.